All right. So we hope you had a good break. We were not lying. I have with me here the buko pandan salad for snacks. All right.
Padala mo nga dito yan.
we'll throw here.
Really wonderful.
Okay,
Entertaining.
so we're back. I hope you were able to spend your short break well, because that should be able to prepare us for the next parts of our program this afternoon. Right? So now we call on someone who is also with us, but in the same roof with Tita Jenny. We call on Tito Gino Bulan.
Unmute, please.
Hello. Sorry for that delay. So good afternoon, friends. My name is Gino Bulan. So I'm here to introduce our keynote speaker. But I'm also the country director of Consulus Philippines. And I will also be more involved in a deeper way with New City, as I will be joining CBCI. So it's a privilege for me to introduce my friend this afternoon, Mr. Stanislav Lencz, also known as Stan or Stano to his friends. He is chairman of the Consulus Global Network and concurrently regional director for Consulus Europe. A few highlights on his academic background include studies in mathematics and physics and Comenius University in Slovakia. These foundational studies was supplemented by a 2-year course on theology, philosophy, sociology, and social ethics in Italy. This led him through a corporate career in companies such as Plough, Siemens, Atos, Innovatrix, and now he has found his home in Consulus. In his corporate life, Stano devoted a lot to making organizations, technology, communication, and processes serve people. In his free time, Stano devotes himself to various volunteering and community development projects in Slovakia and abroad, some of which are linked to the Focolare movement. Now, more importantly linked to our meeting today, our chairman also takes the lead role in the for Consulus in the Nuova Global Initiative, which aims to strategically strengthen the connection of New City to its purpose and to fulfill this purpose sustainably. So friends, I am proud to present to you our esteemed chairman and colleague, Mr. Stanislav Lencz.
Thank you so much, Gino, for this nice introduction. I want to say in the beginning that I'm really very humbled and pleased to be here with all of you in this special moment for New City Press Philippines. And I remained so happy to see this large family of people devoted to bring unity into the society. So let me start with my promised guest's speech at this marvelous event. I was asked to share some thoughts about the past and present of this key communication tool for the charism of unity, started by Karel Lubick in the 50s of the last century, and to dedicate few thoughts to the last evolution stage of it with the Nuova Global Initiative, as already mentioned by my 4 speakers, in which Consulus Global Network is acting as a partner in a particular way in the person of Lawrence Chong, you know already from last year, and myself. As you might know, and it was mentioned already today, towards the middle of the 50s, Chiara Lubick and the people around her thought of new instruments, more modern and suitable, to spread the ideal of unity. The idea of a newspaper was born. Seeing it already somehow realized, Chiara Lubick announced it on the 4th November of 1955, dwelling also on the topics to be covered: economics, art, philosophy, nature, medicine, science, politics, communication, religion. The 14th July of 1956 marked the birth of the first issue of the newspaper, which was a few copies printed on the mimeograph, as Rome mentioned. On the 5th March of 1957, the magazine was printed in a normal printing house near Piazza Navona in Rome, with a circulation of 5,000 copies. Now, let us dive into a few thoughts with which Chiara Lubich defined and fine-tuned along the years the purpose of Città Nuova, since this is of light also for our present days. And we use them later as a benchmark to understand once again how the Città Nuovas around the globe correspond to Chiara's legacy, and also how to shape the Nuova Global Initiative. So let us listen to some of her words. From April 1970. To find its formula in structure and content, the magazine must not think of the movement, but of the world and of humanity. Later, from August 1987. What God did was this. He didn't want us to build hospitals, because there is a charism here, which means the Holy Spirit at work, who therefore gives inspiration and ideas. Later, some say the articles are often too stiff. There has been too much filtering and too much checking, inspired by an exaggerated prudence. So what happens to the charism? They send it to sleep. The Holy Spirit is not happy with this. You have to take risks, even if they criticize you. We must keep going on our path of the ideal, and that's it, at all cost. Later, in 2006, Città Nuova wants to create public opinion and be available to those who in one way or another share the ideals of peace, justice, freedom and truth, of unity. Città Nuova is yeast, salt and light. And once again, Città Nuova magazine wants to be a path to fraternity, a tool for dialogue at all levels, for fellowship, for unity. In recent years, after Chiara Lubich passed away and the movement had to face a new era of its foundation, in a series of economic crises and dramatic changes in the world of communication, the Città Nuovas around the globe started to face new challenges. For this, after the General Assembly of 2014, a journey was started among the Città Nuovas and the central councillors for the aspect of communication of the movement of Focolari. The aim was to analyze these challenges and to find and implement strategic and operative solutions. At a historic meeting in April of 2019, they decided to involve an external consulting partner. Eventually, after long discussions and the evaluation of proposals, methodologies, and talent resources, Consulus Global Network was chosen as a strategic partner. These are the three main objectives we received as an assignment for the Global Città Nuova initiative, as we called it in the beginning. In this global crisis, the first of the media and publishing market, to find an innovative solution to enable the idea of a united world with global impact. The second one, harness the treasures of the worldwide grassroots presence of the movement and of Città Nuovas. And the last, create a feasible, sustainable and phased implementation plan for finance, organization of talents, resources and tools. Now, by using the approach of See, Judge, Act, let us dive into explaining the entire intent, now entitled as the Nuova Global Initiative. Now, at this point, remembering the way Chiara defined the role of Città Nuova, we have to say that in everything that Chiara did, whether she talked about the society, about the church, or about the economy, she went beyond the obvious. So these questions are like trying to see what Chiara would see in the world now. So what we can see beyond the obvious today, with all the rise of fake news, with this insistence on nation first, and all this narrow emphasis on just the economy alone to solve all problems, it shows to us that this is a world in need of a new vision. Our situation today is very similar to the time of Chiara. We can recall her thoughts by walking down the streets of post-war Rome in the meditation, The Resurrection of Rome. It is important to note that for Chiara, God is infinite, yet not just love. He is a God of solutions. So with that perspective of the infinite God, it is easy to understand how all the instruments of the movement came about. When Chiara said that the movement is part of the Second Vatican Council of Renewal, and seeing her habit of putting new this and new that to everything, new city, new humanity, and so on, it is very clear in Chiara's method that the movement's approach is an entire and systemic transformation, a total transformation of society. In fact, if there could be another name for the Focolare movement, it is newness. And every conversion story of those attracted to the idol of Chiara has a common characteristic. They saw things in new ways because of the gospel and with new eyes. So this presents a specific kind of platform in the Focolare movement. The platform that Chiara Lubich presents to us and to the world is systemic in relationships, systemic in transformation of institutions, and systemic in thinking. Then you cannot take Chiara's charism apart. You cannot say that the Focolare movement is just for the interreligious dialogue, or just for the church, or just for the economy of communion. It doesn't make sense because it is all interconnected. So this is the legacy that Chiara has given to Città Nuova to transmit to the world, an interconnected and systemic perspective. Something that we will always have to find new ways to evolve in order to deliver on this mission. This is the reason, too, why it is significant what Chiara wished for Città Nuova in her quotes and in the way she said about Città Nuova. At this point, I'd like to clarify one thing. When we as consuls do similar work for other Catholic organizations or for other organizations, we have to review the founder's original intent. For example, we reviewed a university that belongs to the Ursuline order. The words of their founder, Saint Angela Merici, needed a lot of interpretative lenses when we thought to discern her intent for our times. But in the case of Chiara, when she spoke about Città Nuova, it was very specific and clear, and we felt that we had to be faithful to those words and not give too many excuses to consider them any lesser. So, based on what she said about Città Nuova, she wanted it to inspire. She wanted Città Nuova to gather insights, future thinking, and she wanted Città Nuova to be innovative, which the New City Press in Philippines is, as we have seen, right? These are characteristics that we cannot remove because these are like the foundational mandate for Città Nuova. Also, we cannot simply look at Città Nuova and say, okay, there are other news agencies that do like this, that do like that, let us follow them and do the same. No, we can't, because we would contravene the founding mandate of Città Nuova. That means Città Nuova cannot be just about good journalism, but a journalism that inspires and changes the world. So then, with such a vision set forth by Chiara, the challenge is how do we make it workable and relevant in present? Since October 2019, when we began with the initial reviews, leading to the in-depth study of the market and of all the Città Nuovas in terms of their talent, capacity, influence, network, this was our conclusion. We have seen that the challenge about Città Nuova is not the inspiration, because its inspiration is very unique and very attractive. But the biggest problem is in business management, the execution of the work and the ideas. It is like if this is a car that is supposed to drive to a certain speed, and we know where to go with this car, but we see that the engine is not working quite well. So it is an engine problem, not because the car is not needed, not because the destination is not desired. It is such a big challenge to run these magazines with a lack of professional experience. Many people have literally given their lives to enable Città Nuova continue along the years and decades. So what we have noticed over time is the scale of the ideas or the ambition for the vision of a united world became smaller and smaller. But the good news is this is a problem that is solvable. At least we know it is just an engine problem and not because such a car has no use. So we have identified 4 issues. Firstly, there needs to be a more professional way to manage and to do fundraising. Secondly, we must say that many Città Nuovas are trying their best, but they are doing it alone. And this is not the time to do things alone, but in synergy. Then, in such a competitive market like the media, it is very important to have a strategy and methodology to be clear-headed about the impact of the magazine and the books. And finally, it is very important to help every Città Nuova to upgrade their capacity to be sustainable. So in this proposed strategy, there are 3 components. They are not new in the media world. There are other non-profit organizations that have similar structures. And I want to clarify that what the movement is trying to do is actually on a very small scale. For example, other foundations are trying to raise sounds like $50 million a year. And we are trying to raise less than $1 million a year. And one remark, dear friends, if you read about organizational research on terrorism, do you know how much money are the terrorists trying to raise? They are trying to raise hundreds of millions through donations and illegal businesses. This just to illustrate that those who do evil are better at fundraising than those of us who are trying to do something for the united world. After evaluating the existing categories in magazines and publishings, the strength of Città Nuova and the network linked to the movement, we are confident that in these 4 content pillars, we can bring something new and unique. We talk about economics, politics, religion, and education. And we have worked out a financial model through a variety of activities that this global initiative can be sustainable. There was a question whether we should consider closing some of the local Città Nuovas. We are convinced that if we close the local Città Nuovas or some of them, this entire strategy simply cannot work, because it's the local Città Nuovas that give us a unique presence on the ground and in the world. But the local Città Nuovas often do not have experience in fundraising and management. They are good journalists, yes, but not people with the commercial skills to survive in a competitive media landscape. This is the real reason why they are not sustainable. So we foresee that we can easily solve this financial structure with transparency, accountability, through the setup of a dedicated foundation. And the Global Nuova Foundation, as a separate unit, can help them to manage projects and build capacity for the local Città Nuovas. I must say that there has been a lot of creativity at the local Città Nuovas in the past and now, and this despite all the difficulties, and it is important to recognize that. Their perspective and the community they have built is hugely valuable to the movement. In business strategy then, it is important not to be simplistic, to just simply focus on cost by assuming that if we cut them, then sustainable growth happens. Businesses succeed in reality on the basis of creativity, unique value, and then good management of resources, which include, of course, also costs. Cost is easy to cut, but once you lose passion and creativity, that is very hard to recover, very hard to build again. So the local Città Nuovas have something priceless, which is passion and creativity that we can harness. So we go to the third word of the trinomial, act. We asked the General Council in 2020 to consider a reorganization of Città Nuova network to strengthen their capacity and to permit us to commence phase 1 of the project, which is to speak with possible partners and secure their financial support before we go into implementation of the entire project. We talk here about 3 main points. Firstly, to set up a global magazine for global influence with a specific aim on global leaders. Secondly, to professionalize the local Città Nuovas, and the global unit will give them tools, training, and opportunities of project collaboration to upgrade their capacity. The third thing is to group all local Città Nuovas under this foundation. This is something very important, as we need to be able to explain to local and institutional donors what are Città Nuova trying to do in the world, what is their impact, how will we use their money, how do we ensure that their money impacts a united world, but specifically in the area of news and journalism. We have seen that if we have these 3 sets of tools, it is easy for us to revive Città Nuovas around the world and make them far more sustainable. We saw that it was the start of a very beautiful relationship. The local Città Nuovas can continue to be focused on their countries and be close to the community. Then, the global magazine can be focused on global issues and leaders. And this entire relationship in unity with the center of the movement. Even if the COVID-19 presented a lot of challenges for this project, we managed to gather all the key people from local Città Nuovas in March 2020 via Zoom for 3 days of intense workshop. There were moments of doubt, questions, but also many moments of joy, peace, and wisdom. Everyone tried to look at the project from their perspective. It was a period of creative tension, probably similar to the experience of the upper room as the apostles waited for the Holy Spirit. Among them were fishermen, tax collectors, pious individuals, all very different, but eventually lighted by the fire of the Holy Spirit. So they set forth to conquer the world. Likewise for our workshop, we had a great variety of individuals, but in the end, we found a way forward together. We could say it was a refounding of Nuova as a global strategic instrument for the united world. And everyone agreed that this approach is needed. This slide summarizes our analysis and proposal to solve the problem of finance and the one of implementation. In this Nuova Global initiative, we need the two interconnected elements of Nuova Global Media and of Nuova Global Foundation. In this first year, which is running, our focus is to get institutional financial support and to make sure that it works well. What we are doing is that we are prototyping. And like any prototype, we needed to be prepared to tweak due to the dialogue with the partners. The most important thing for us is to ensure that we can fulfill our purpose for Nuova and sustain it too. We have already assessed that it will be difficult for the movement to support this financially, so we are doing a lot of work to secure financing and opportunities also from other sources. At the same time, we are not adopting just a fundraising approach. From day one, we have sought to develop real project opportunities that can be paid for. This is what Consulus, through our global network, present in 16 countries, is committed to do with the center of the movement. The key is to aim for the first $500,000 through either fundraising and projects. The moment we reach this amount, we will be able to update the center of the movement that we have the sign of the Holy Spirit to proceed further. Coming to the end of my speech, in summary, what is this novel global initiative about and what will it bring? Planned over 5 years, the initiative has 4 aspects: strengthening the new city locally, building a global network, launching a new media platform for global leaders, and creating a global foundation. Each Nuova was born out of a particular community of movement members and friends, and each has created unique networks. This is an incredible legacy of dedication, of testimony, of life, impact, and experience that can never be lost. A global media platform will be launched to support leaders in businesses, in politics, in education, in religion, and in business and in civil society, with actionable solutions for a more united world. Leaders who want to act for inclusion and economic sustainability, and who want to observe the values of peace, brotherhood, responsibility, and human dignity, they need a space to meet and connect with others like themselves, a place to find inspiration and ideas towards new solutions to today's global and local challenges. And finally, the creation of a global foundation aims to raise funds for the development of the media, enabling them to attract and pay talented professionals. You might ask how you can support this project. Firstly, definitely by supporting New City Press at the local level, financially, by volunteering, by networking, by contributing themes and topics. Each new city is only as strong as its community of supporters and contributors. Secondly, by supporting the Nuova Global initiative, connecting it with personalities, with opinion leaders who share its goals, helping it raise funds for its cause, and by supporting our activities and pilot projects, for the moment, the project of inclusive economy and the project of innovative Africa. If interested, you can get more information on them on the social networks of the Nuova Global initiative. Just search for Nuova Global on Facebook, LinkedIn, internet, or YouTube. We are also particularly open to the contribution and commitment of young people. We are also looking for private and institutional donors who share our conviction. We are also looking for partner organizations among NGOs and institutions working in the fields covered by our field of action. So let's not be afraid to take risks while remaining faithful to the ideal of fraternity and unity carried by the Focolare communities.
Thank you very much, Tano. That was wow, so much to take in.
Definitely, Tita Jenny. Thank you again, really, Stano. It was very, I don't know if enriching is just an understatement. I think there's so much to pour in that I think after this, if it's not only time consuming, I would suggest we do breakout rooms to really materialize what you have said. It's something very fruitful. I like very much what you said on the importance of how can we build a more sustainable new city, and that's through synergy, strategy, and skills. And in doing so, we give another S, which is a space for people in order for us to respond to the needs of the times with the contribution of the spirituality of unity. I think that is a very important factor that you have emphasized, and it's a good reminder for all of us, particularly the one when the part where you said that new city is only as strong as its network of supporters. So this one, I think hit hard for me, because that means, and I hope it did for all of us who are here, following here on Zoom and Facebook Live, that New City can only stand as we also stand with it, no? Right, Tita Jenny?
Yes, very good. I like very much what you said, Stano, about the engine. I think that's the thing that we have to focus on, no, in these days. So on that note, we would like to open the floor to questions from those who are here. So you may raise your hands, or you may write your questions on the chat box. But anyway, so to get the ball rolling, I would like to ask you first, Tano, given the Nuova Global Initiative and New City Philippines as one of the local Chita Nuova that is also ailing, would you have anything concrete in mind, how we can align or work well with the vision of this initiative?
Well, what I can say that we felt from the very beginning a very intense harmony with people from New City Press in Philippines, not only with them, but in particular way with them, with Jose Aranas, with Rome, and with others. And I have to say that we were really amazed in seeing on how you launched yourself, how you were able to follow up almost immediately during the COVID crisis, with going digital, with being there where the people are listening to. And I would say it's important just to continue on the track. And we have seen that this phase is very important in order for the global team of Chita Novas to work together. And this is what is happening, to gain mutual trust, to find out that the methodologies and approaches and ways of communication are working. And this came through, and this we've seen, for example, at the moment of the official launch of the Nuova Global Initiative in the end of June, or with preparing coordinated communications on the social networks. So this is working, and this is the basis where we have to build on. So having confirmed that the approach is correct, and having confirmed based on pilot projects that we have the mutual trust, and that the engine starts getting higher higher rounds, I would say. But I could only add on what the both of you underlined. I mean, to believe really that the engine, it's just a technical thing, because the message is there on one hand, and that really every new city is only as strong because there is this grassroots element as the community behind. This is something we have to learn in these times, to be more one thing as the movement. But we will get there. We will get there. I'm sure. I'm pretty sure.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Gia, do you have any questions?
Thank you, Stano. No, in fact, right now I'm following the chat here, and we're also receiving some inputs from Facebook, and they're all really thanking Stano. I think they're still digesting a very informative presentation from Stano. So while waiting for other questions, I also have a question in mind, Stano. How do you see, well, what does the future look like for New City once the entire process or strategy or the mechanism that you have presented to us works? What does the future look like for New City then?
I would say very simply, look at the young generation, because they are already there in the space of the communication in a very natural way. We are still loving too much also the old instruments, the old ways of communicating. Of course, we cannot put away the good and the proven. In a certain sense, there are a lot of good approaches in the media and in journalism which were defined in the beginning of the 20th century, to say so, right? But we have to learn this freshness, this ability to penetrate to new spaces, use new technologies, simply be there where people are, talk there where people are listening, listen there where people are talking and posing their questions. And we can't do this only by combining professionality, ability to innovate, and ability to listen, and the ability to knowing what is our purpose in a very, with a lot of inner freedom.
You know, Stano, I like what you said, because many of us are alike in that thinking, trusting new technology as a means to reach the most number of people today. And the young people, it's like an instinct. It comes naturally to them. We saw a question here from Kit and Jane. I'll read it to you. It seems that Consolos has spent a lot of investment here. How can you recover these costs? Thanks.
I like this question. But I mean, I said it. But while starting to give an answer to this question, I want to say this. We feel strongly in Consolos that our spiritual roots, which help to develop our professional experience in business innovation, in business strategy, in helping companies to find their purpose and to build on it in unity, in strong professional relations. All this is fruit of unity. All this is inspired by Chiara's charisma. So in a certain way, we feel also that we are giving back to what we received. But nevertheless, I said it already, so I want just to stress once again on it. We are a partner of the project. We are not an external consultant who came and being paid said, you could do this. We are a partner, which means we are investing also into the project. We are investing it because we believe in it, right? And yes, I mean, it's almost obvious, and like in similar cases, this means that we believe that we are able to succeed, that we are able to fundraise, and we are able also to put on various activities which will be then eventually financially sustainable, right? And that this will bring back the investment which we put into the project.
All right. Thank you, Stano. There are new questions that came in. So this one is from Tita Cres Gavihan. Is the amount to be initially raised representative of the global Chita Nuova family?
Yes. While thinking of what should be the initial amount of money is on one hand mirroring the typical revenue of the Chita Nuovas as of now around the globe, and it's in a certain sense the minimal amount of money which can help us to build solid basis for the structures of the foundations to start work.
All right. Thank you, Stano. There's one more question from Tita Tina Bonifacio. Stano, what particular expertise are you referring to when you said that we have to improve our methods? What competencies are we missing?
In Consulus, we are building on the experience of combining all the needed knowledges and expertise together in the project. So in this sense, but this is varying from Chita Nuova to Chita Nuova. In some, it's a lack of professionalism almost in everything, because it's done in a very I would say based on a passion. This is when we look at the small Chita Nuovas. Then the bigger Chita Nuovas usually have journalistic talent, right? But not ability to manage a mediatic project in today's time, right? In today's time, where there are big pressures, big changes, and if one wants to succeed and gain impact, this needs to be organized in a very innovative way, right? And for the bigger ones, we've seen that sometimes it's also a combination of the fact that we do not believe so well in ourselves, and we are not so well able to combine all the various puzzles in order to really have an impact, right? Because also the major Chita Nuovas, if you talk, for example, about the number of subscribers, like mentioned before by Rome, thinking of our size of what we are offering, we should say, oh my goodness, maybe we should have like 5, 10,000, 50,000 of subscribers because we have something to say. So why we do not have them? And this is a serious question. We tried to pose and we did it. And this is also something we discussed in the workshop. What is happening if we have this content, if we are not able to attract people, if we do not have such an impact? If we are not impacting opinion leaders and leaders in the society, what is happening? We have to ask ourselves these questions. So we might think we are professionals, but we can only measure our success on the outcome, which is the impact, which is absolutely and uniquely the impact. Okay, in a certain sense, there is also an idea that if we believe in delivering a content, thinking of evangelization and so on, there is also this mission just to announce. But this is only a part of the mission of Chita Nuovas, because we have to be in the society, we have to be connected to the society. Because if we are not, people cannot listen to us. And we see that if there are not enough subscribers, if there are not many feedbacks, positive feedbacks from a variety of opinion leaders, of people who are important to the society, means we are not there, we are not connected to them, we are not talking about topics, and we are not talking about topics in the way people understand and people need to listen. And perhaps we are not doing in the way we have to. Maybe being the servants of unity, being the servants, being the connectors, because it's not said that we have to be the experts, but we can be the connectors, for example. So we have to understand very well our role. And this is also a discussion about the ways of journalism we have to bring forward in the various cultural contexts in the world.
I think that was really beautiful, Stano, especially the one where you mentioned that it's important to be really sensitive of the impact that we have. So, and there is much, as you said, that we can offer, we can contribute, and it's not the fault of the spirituality, because the spirituality is good. It's just an engine problem, like the one you mentioned during your presentation. I think it links very well to this question that you recently answered. Now we move on to a few more questions that came in, like this one from Amata of Cebu. Thanks so much, Stano. Just a question. New City Philippines innovated the audio magazine. How can this local initiative help and connect on this global project of Nuova?
I mean, also in your case, I would say that you did a lot of effort. For example, someone had to code the applications, someone has to prepare the content, do the design and all the things. So I could ask, are you doing it based on volunteer work, or are you able to pay the people who are doing it, right? Or was this done based on a one-off financial gift to support this major change in the way of working, right? Then as of contents, are you building only on self-created contents? Perhaps you have the ability, especially as of books, to take from the New City Press from the States or from the UK. But are you able to get content also from other Chitanovas? And then are you able to cover also global topics to be relevant in topics of politics, education, economy? Or are you more talking about ideas more tightly connected to the idol, to the gospel? Are more sharing experiences of people, more personal experiences, or experiences of smaller projects? Or are you in the midst of a societal discussion on the most stringent topics which are happening as of now in the Philippines? Usually, the ability to cover is about being able to have, and since the worker deserves his pay, are you able to pay people who would write such contents? Are you able to pay professional talent from all these various aspects of the life of the society? So here I want to say content, capability building, exchange of experiences, eventually sharing of technological platforms, right, for spreading out contents, or for raising money, for attracting smaller or major donors, for advertising and so on. So there's really a systemic strategy which was elaborated on how the local Chitanovas can benefit on one hand and can give their input to the entire initiative.
All right. Thank you very much, Stano, for accommodating all the questions. Unfortunately, we could not accommodate all. We hope there will be another opportunity to do that. But nonetheless, it was a fruitful moment of dialogue for everyone. And for sure, we all have something to take with us from this program. So to express our
Gio,
gratitude to you.
May I?
Yes.
May I cut in for a while?
Go ahead.
Stano, the questions that have come and continue to come is just, I think it's a good sign, no? That there are many people who are invested in this. So the Filipinos are a hopeful bunch. So let's hope that we can bring this ahead together. And for just a little commercial, no, there were many people asking how to subscribe to the audio magazine. We will post the link directly here in the chat box. All you have to do is click on that so that you can go straight to the subscription page. So Gio.
Yes, thank you for plugging that, Tita Jenny. And we hope that when time permits, Stano can also visit the Philippines in person.
Yes.
And, you know, if you can meet us and encourage us all the more, perhaps a session or two for New City, Philippines, or CBCI at the time. I can see Rome clapping his hands. All right. So to express really our profound gratitude to you, Stano, let us call on Ting Nolasco, member of the editorial board.
So on behalf of the New City editorial board and all those who have joined us today via Zoom, we would like to thank Stanislav Lencz, I hope I pronounced that right, the global chairman of Consulus, for his very insightful presentation that reminded us once again of the original vocation of New City as an instrument of unity and its relevance and mission today. I was also very much intrigued and excited about the Nuova Global Initiative, which I'm sure would give New City Philippines that much needed spark to continue to forge ahead in this new global environment that has dramatically changed due to the pandemic. So we are all very hopeful that united as one body under the Nuova Global Project, all the editions of New City all over the world will continue to become beacons of hope and unity for many. So thank you very much, Stano, and as a sign of our gratitude, we would like to present you with this certificate of appreciation.
Thanks so much, Tink.
Yes.
I felt really humbled in the moment of invitation, and I'm even more now really seeing all this interest, all this passion, which is here in the air. I can just promise if we collect the questions, I'm happy to answer them, and then we will find a way together with Rome and the others on how to. I mean, this is valuable content which eventually can be also then published in a moment, or simply we'll find a way how that the answers can come to people who ask. And I just wanted to say a hello, if you allow, to Shinti, to Giuseppe Arsi, because I'm so happy to see him here because we are old friends. And last but not least, I have to say that, okay, I said I in my presentation, but there is an entire team behind me, so which were in a certain sense present with me, and there's also this entire team of the Città Nuovas around the globe, and the team in the center of the movement, the counselors for the red, for the violet, and many other people who are believing and supporting this project because of the idea, because of our faithfulness to it. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you, Stano. All our unity.